We're going to speak Be'ez Hashem today, what's relevant for today, ASORO BeTEVEIS that falls out on EREV Shabbos, and what's relevant tonight, LEIL Shabbos Kodesh that comes right after a fast. Be'etzem, we just started here in the morning, Kollel, Sechtes Yuma. Be'etzem to speak on what we started, however, it's something that's not so common. So maybe we'll speak ben Yana de Yoma. True, Itaka was last year as well. Anybody remembers? You remember that it was last year as well. Also, ASORO BeTEVEIS fell out on a Friday. However, the next time that it falls out on the calendar, which Be'ez Hashem, it won't happen. We'll have Mashiach. It's not only it's not going to happen, it's going to be a Yom Tov, like the Navi says that these fast days are going to turn into Yom Tovim. And furthermore, on the same note, the Chafetz Chaim in Hilchos Rosh Chodesh, when speaking about the calendar, so the Chafetz Chaim goes through different scenarios and different years, and then he says, and then he speaks about Ve'ein lanu lidoi kol kach yoser. We don't have to get so much further down the line in the calendar. Ki bevadai ba'esahi, by that time further down in the calendar, v'gam harbe koidem, and even way before yiyah ha'geula v'nekadash al pi'iriyah, so it's not going to be negeya. So Mela, we're talking today, ASORO BeTEVEIS, Tafshin Pehei, and a fast day. The next time it's going to fall out on the calendar as we are now is in 10 years, Tafshin Tzadakei. Something unique, but like the Chafetz Chaim says, bevadai, it's not going to be negeya, because we're going to have the geula, and there he's speaking about nekadash al pi'iriyah. Over here, that we'll have the geula shleima, it's going to be a Yom Tov. Al kaponim, for today, we're going to go through Be'ez Hashem halochos that are relevant for today and that are relevant for tonight. Just kedai to point out that a fast day on a Friday is extremely uncommon. From the Dalet Taniyos, the regular fast days that we have, call it the Tainis Tzibur, this is the only fast day that could fall out on a Friday. Any other fast day cannot fall out on a Friday. It could fall out on a Shabbos and it gets pushed off. Or we had Tainis Esther, I think it was this past year, if I remember correctly, maybe it was a year or two ago. Tainis Esther could fall out on a Shabbos and we'll actually pull it back to Thursday. We spoke about it here in the Kollel why, but Al Kaponim, to fall out on a Friday, it's only ASORO BeTEVEIS. There's one other fast day that could fall out on a Friday, that's Tainis B'chayrim. If Pesach falls out on a Shabbos, so then, one other fast day, then the Tainis B'chayrim is Friday. You take a fast Friday. If you don't, the Tainis B'chayrim is on Friday.
Is there any other Tainis which would affect everyone across the board or no?
No. The Magen Avram says that this is the only fast day. I just added on that the Tainis B'chayrim also would come out. Just interesting to note that this year, and we'll speak about it, this year, that Erev Pesach is Chal Liyos b'Shabbos, and therefore you can fast Tainis B'chayrim on Shabbos. You definitely do not fast on Friday. Either it gets pulled back to Thursday, or maybe there's no Tainis B'chlal. We'll speak about it, Be'ez Hashem, closer to Pesach. But Al Kaponim, Negeya to us, it's very uncommon. L'tchatchilu, we don't want to fast on a Friday, and we'll get to it a little bit later down the Shiur, what's Negeya, B'poil, and the Halacha. So let's speak a little bit about Erev Shabbos. The Chafetz Chaim brings that be'etzem on a fast day, a Baal Nefesh should be machmer not to take a shower. Be'isser rechitza. It's a Baal Nefesh. However, Zok the Chafetz Chaim, that today, being that it's Erev Shabbos, there's no Mishum Kavod Shabbos, a person shouldn't be machmer. I just want to add on that there's a Tshuvas Ksaf Sofer about it, and just read a drop of the Lashon, seemingly that somebody asked him discussing this shaila about maybe if somebody you should refrain from taking a shower to be Roichet Erev Shabbos. Zok the Ksaf Sofer in the Tshuva, being like what the Gemara in Shabbos says, Daf Chaf Hey, in gepasket la halacha that it's a mitzvah to be roichetz erev Shabbos. Bevadai be'erev Shabbos mutter. V'kol shkei bal nefesh the mahader b'mitzvah zu the tefillah the LEIL yavatlenu, and he says, "Umay chazis, why she be machmer because of the tainus, and then you're being makel on the mitzvah of kavod Shabbos. Adarabba, you should be machmer on kavod Shabbos and be roichetz." So halacha number one, even though today is a fast day of Shabbos, you're roichetz lekavod Shabbos. Halacha number two, a haircut. If somebody wants to take a haircut, you can take a haircut lekavod Shabbos. B'chlal, Turi Evan says, b'chlal lo matzinu, b'chlal, that you can't take a haircut on a tainus, even when it falls out during the week. But if it's on Erev Shabbos, for sure you can take a haircut. To cut one's nails is mutter. So shower, haircut, nails is mutter. Tayamel. The Mishabura brings from the Magen Avram, it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah, Tayamel. But Avada Tayamel is not shaykh today. It's not shaykh Tayamel because Lamaisi you're fasting. However, the Ramah says that to taste, to see that the food is good and spit it out, it's mutter. B'makom when you're doing it l'tzayrach asudas mitzvah. For an example, if let's say any fast day, the fast day is during the week, and then these are sudas, let's say a bris by night, these are sudas bris, so you're allowed to take it in and spit it out. As is the Ramah. So come to chayis over here, being that you're preparing food for a sudas mitzvah fashteitzach v'tanait, you're allowed to put the food in your mouth without swallowing it and spitting it out. However, avada, you're not going to make a bracha on it. Why? Like it's mavur and siman rei shir in hilchas brachas. Being that you're only putting it in your mouth to taste it, you're not swallowing it, you don't make a bracha. Mincha today. So the Beis Yosef brings the Shabbalei Alekat from the Rishonim that say that you do not read Vayechal. You don't read Vayechal today. Why? Because it's a busy day. We're preparing for Shabbos. Even though on a regular fast day, these Kriyas HaTorah by Mincha. Today, there's no Kriyas HaTorah. Lamaisa, like it's Mavur in the Poskim, and that's the minig, being that we're more and well prepared for Shabbos, we do lay in Vayechal. So there is Kriyas HaTorah, regular Kriyas HaTorah of Atainus, Vayechal with Haftorah. At least for the minig Ashkenazim, these Haftorah. The Rishonim bring that one, api what the Gemara in Bracha says, Agra de Tanisa Tzidkasa, that a person has extra money because he fasted, he didn't have to buy food, he should give that money to tzedakah. And Teves, the Rishonim, Teves brings, Rashi brings it, that it's the time to give the tzedakah is la'es erev in the afternoon. Teves says, l'fnei mincha. So Mela, those that are makayim that, and you give it before mincha, if you're going to daven mincha later, either you want to give it at home or you bring along in shul, but just, it's a little bit different. Avadi is going to be people that are going to daven mincha earlier, at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock. But if a person wants to make makayim, just to keep in mind, because when you go to shul, if you usually give in shul the tzedakah and you're going already right before Shabbos, to give it earlier or to bring it along. Another Negei de Gedin, one more din before we go into Shabbos Kodesh, is Anenu. Zak the Chavetz Chaim in the Mishabur that you say Anenu, and he says even though you say Tachron usually, and you don't say Tachron Erev Shabbos, many say Avinu Malkeinu, and you do not say Avinu Malkeinu by Mincha today. Anenu you say. Could be it's Pasha, but the Mishabura spells it out clearly in Hilchas Tainus and Siman Tov Kof Nun that Mincha, Erev Shabbos, of a Tainus, you say Anenu, today you'll say Anenu. Let's move along now. So you finished Friday, you took a shower, you want to take a haircut, you cut your nails. We're holding now Shabbos. There's a big nidin in the Rishonim, it's a very big nidin in the Rishonim, if when the fast day goes into Shabbos, if you mashlam the tainus, meaning to say is, could you make an early Shabbos this week? If you make an early Shabbos and then you want to start the Suda earlier. Lamaisa, lahalacha, the Ramah Paskins at Siman Reish Mem Tes, that we're mashlim the tainus. We're mashlim the tainus means whenever you're the time that you always break your fast, that's the same thing tonight also. Even though usually, let's say Friday night, you'll daven Ma'ariv, let's say right away by you daven Mincha before the Shkia, Ma'ariv right away by the Shkia, and then you finish davening 20 minutes after the Shkia. If, let's say you wait 40, 50, 60, 72, it doesn't help that you daven Ma'ariv already and you makabel Shabbos. You still have to wait for the time, whatever time you wait. Oh, very good, beautiful. That brings to the next point. You end up fasting on Shabbos. So the emes is two of the reasons why not to fast on a Friday. Meaning to say is, if let's say we're going to move the Tainus back, let's bring the example of Tainus Esther, that you move the Tainus back earlier. Tainus Esther falls on Shabbos. When do you fast? Thursday. Why Thursday? Why do you skip over Friday? The Teretz says there's a few reasons. Two of the reasons. One is because when you fast on a Friday, you come into Shabbos mu'una. It's not covered Shabbos to come into Shabbos starving. It's not covered Shabbos. I sometimes try to tell my kids, the Friday night when I come home, they're ready to rush right away to make kiddush because they're starving. You're supposed to be hungry. That's covered Shabbos, to want to eat the Suda L'Tayavan. Don't eat right before Shabbos, and by the time the Suda comes, it's Yotzis Azayin. But you're also not supposed to be starving. Mu'unah, you're not supposed to come in Mu'unah to Shabbos. It's not covered Shabbos. So therefore, when Tainus Esther falls out on Shabbos, we move it back to Thursday, not Friday, not to come in Mu'unah. V'oid, another pointer over here is that it comes out very good, like you said just right before. It comes that you're fasting on Shabbos. You're fasting on Shabbos because hayos you have to be mashlim the tainus. So let's say you wait till 60, 72, 50. You're fasting into Shabbos. Oy ba'zoi, one should be careful to make kiddush right away. It doesn't mean to say making kiddush right away means to knock over a few people on the way, and if it's not ready yet, that's not what it means. It means for the husband, besides ben adam lachaver, if these people are at home waiting, but it means that you daven, you come home right away and you make kiddush. Yes, it's brought from the Kamarna that he had it worked out exactly. You know how exactly it was? Let's say the kiddush takes 2 minutes, maybe by him it took 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He finished kiddush at the time that you're allowed to eat. Tonight, Rabbeinu Tam is 5:59. So let's say if you ever always daven Ma'ariv by Rabbeinu Tam, he davened earlier. He came home, he made kiddush, let's say at 5:50. It was calculated that he finished kiddush by the time that he could drink 5:59. But the point is that a person should understand that Lamaisa, we usually don't fast Friday, not to fast into Shabbos. So to try, again, it doesn't mean to Shabbos to, knock people over and to be wild about it. But out covered Shabbos, a person should try to have it worked out. Everything should be ready that he can make kiddush right away. Another halacha to take into consideration is the mitzvah say of Kriya Shema. That means, let's say, whenever time you're going to make kiddush, there's also a chiyuv of Kriya Shema. You davened early, you have to say Shema. Siman Reish Lamed Hey. Kiddush, as we mentioned, to make kiddush right away. Now, there's a big chelak of Klal Yisrael's makbid not to make kiddush. Let's call it between 6 and 7. It's not mamash 6 and 7, it's the shah shishis, but let's say 6 and 7. And the earlier Shabbosim, it's not a shaila, be'ikaron, it's not a shaila, because lamaisa, you finish davening, you can go home, you can make kiddush before. Once the weeks start to get a little later, like already now, Rabbeinu Tam is 5:59. So between 6 and 7, it's very tight. Lamaisa, it's not mamash 6 and 7, it's a few minutes after 6, but technically, you walk home from shul. Lamaisa, most that are makbid between 6 and 7 are not makbid the Shabbos. Even if they're very makbid, over here they're not makbid. Lamaisa, the Satmar Rebbe, the Divrei Yoel, they bring in bells, Friedrich bells, Rebbe Shabbat, that's the minig, in Vishnitz, in Toldasan, all these places that they are makbid a week like this week, being that it's a fast day, and if you're waiting till from 6 to 7, it's taka not to make kiddush there, but at the same time you're fasting on Shabbos. So memela, the taka they made. Some brought that if you need to make kiddush between 6 and 7, you should say avarachma v'yatzal nafshei seinu min hashoyes haroyes. But pashtus for tonight, you just make kiddush, even though it's between 6 and 7, because lamaisa it's covered Shabbos. You still have to fast, even though it's already the Zman Yitzias Atainis, just like when, let's say, Tisha B'Av falls out on a Shabbos or on a Matzah Shabbos. So you have to make Havdalah, and you make Havdalah Matzah Tisha B'Av, but you can't eat. So by Havdalah, the Halacha Mefurish and Shulchan Aruch is water you could drink. But by Kiddush, Mefurish and Shulchan Aruch, that even water you can't drink. So this is important to note, that a person fasted the whole day, he or she, you can't drink till you hear Kiddush. We'll soon get to now the Prati Dinim, exactly how to go about with it, what you want to eat, you want to drink, we'll get to that in a moment. But Al Kaponim, that's important to note, that a person's not allowed to even drink water. Once it's Yitzias Atainis, you could rinse your mouth, and could be it's even a mila to do it. Alpida did in Siv Daled, that B'chlal, every morning we rinse our mouth before davening, so it should be clean to say a davar shebekdusha. So that's if you're making kiddush and it's already after the Zman Yitzias Atainis, it would be a mila to rinse your mouth. Moving along into kiddush, if a person himself who's making the kiddush cannot drink the wine, which could make sense. Not on a regular week, because your mouth was rinsed. But for tonight, that your mouth is coming off a fast day, just like in the morning, every morning.
You're saying that tonight we did it in the Shulchan Aruch says that I forget his exact lotion, but you're not allowed to rinse your mouth out. Forget this. We did it in the
You're not allowed to rinse your mouth out? Let's look it up together afterwards.
Tonight is the exception, that's what I want to know. Is tonight the exception to the rule?
All year round, you can't rinse your mouth out for Kiddush? Why would they want to do that anyways? There's no
if someone's, put down the case of someone's thirsty and they need a drink, so you can't drink. Not only that, don't rinse your mouth out either.
So let's look it up afterwards, Saka. Interesting, because then it would be a negay. But Al Kapana over here, it's interesting because the Magen Avram is in Hilchas Kiddush, and he says a person's allowed to rinse because he's not mechavel anoyas te'ima. A person wants to drink. A person makes Kiddush. We're going into Kiddush now. A person makes Kiddush, and Lamaisa, he has a hard time. It's on an empty stomach. He's making Kiddush. He can't drink it. He can't drink the kais. Avada, he could give it to somebody else. Someone else could drink the Kiddush. Klor. Stamazai. The Rav Vosen says not to give it to a kid. It's better that a gadol should drink it l'tchatchila. But you don't have to drink the wine. It's l'tchatchila that everybody drinks from the wine, but you don't have to. Somebody has to drink the wine. So if you make kiddush and you can't drink the wine, it's on an empty stomach, you give it to somebody else.
You don't even have to taste it.
No. No.
You made it better for someone else?
Yeah. Have the Maramakim clearly. You could be moitzi kiddush or somebody else.
I should just make a shot on you drink the water.
So Lamaisa, I think it's even by Berchas on hand, but for sure for Kiddush Friday night, for sure you could. You made Kiddush already, and you made the Hagafen, and you don't need it, you could be moitzi somebody else. Clearly in Hilchas Kiddush, we'll look it up together afterwards, clearly. Well asked, and I remember, I don't know why I didn't write it down over here. I remember looking it up clearly. Avada, you could be mighty somebody else. Avada l'tchatchila, if the person knows how to make kiddush himself, avada should. But if somebody can't make kiddush, but once you're making kiddush, someone else could drink it. We'll double check on that just to make sure for the people that are listening on the recording or Torah anytime. We'll double check to make sure that the person that's Makadosh doesn't have to be tying B'chlal. We have to just double check on that.
The basic classes to make kiddush, nobody can go to the chazans to drink.
Just give it out to Ktanim.
Kids drink it.
I think it's Mamash Mafurish in the Reisha and Aleph. Clearly. clearly that you don't have to be Tayyim. Again, these are l'tchatchila that everybody should be Tayyim. Everybody should be Tayyim. Okay, so let's go through now, spend a few minutes for a lot of us that are going to have a hard time after a fast day just to sit down and eat the Suda regularly. Some people, they're hungry, they made Kiddush, and they're going to go sit to eat the Suda. I just want to point something out over on the note of being hungry. The Panim Yafa says that when a person does a mitzvah that has a hana, a person has to be careful that he should be doing the mitzvah for the mitzvah, not for the hana. He has hana. But you should do it l'tzarech ha-mitzvah. Says the Beis HaLevi, different is the mitzvah of eating Suda Shabbos, that the mitzvah itself is given la'oinik Shabbos. You're supposed to have a oinig. It's given la'oinig. When you sit down to the Suda Shabbos, it's a mitzvah. But the mitzvah is to have ano, oinig Shabbos. A person has to just keep that a drop of mind tonight, that when a person's sitting down to eat the Suda, Avada Taka, we fasted the whole day. If you fast the whole day, you want to sit down to eat pasha because you're starving. But Lamaisa here, a person has to, I guess, exercise himself a little bit and make sure to remember that he's also, that it's the mitzvahs Oynik Shabbos. Al Kaponim, you're sitting down the Suda, and there'll be many different cases, and we'll go through the different shiles that could come up. But basically, either you don't want to right away eat the Suda, you drank the cup of wine, you want to take a little break, or you want to have just coffee, you want to have coffee and cake. So let's go through these, a couple of different akudis, and everyone will apply it to their story, to their case, if they're going to want to have the cake later, right after washing the coffee, before. Let's try to go through. There's a few pointers to go through. Aleph is Kiddush b'makam Suda. To say it's like this, there's a halacha. A person, you make Kiddush, right after Kiddush, you're supposed to eat the Suda. You have to eat the Suda. Memela, if you make Kiddush, then you want to take a break, that's not called Kiddush b'makam Suda. So really, the simple thing would be is you want to, whatever you want to do, you just wash and you have Kiddush b'makam Suda. However, let's say you can't wash yet, or as we'll soon see, you want to have a coffee, and could be it's questionable to have the coffee in the Suda, milchiks and fleishiks. We'll get to that momentarily. And memela, so you don't want to wash right away, but you want to drink a coffee. So drinking a coffee, bepashtis, is not enough for Kiddush b'makam Suda. I'll show you in a second why I'm saying bepashtis. The next step would be is you have a piece of cake. You have a piece of cake, which means you made Kiddush. Again, like we said before Kiddush, there's nothing more to talk about. You can't eat, you can't drink. So you made Kiddush, you have a piece of cake. Now, even though it's a shaila if cake helps for Kiddush b'makam Suda, the Goyin holds that it doesn't help. For by day we're makel and we Kiddush, you listen to Kiddush, you have cake, Kiddush b'makam Suda. By night, for most of the part, be'etzem or mak, but we don't make Kiddush and eat cake. With the exception for many Simchas Torah by night, the Taka do make Kiddush and eat cake. Some say that it's l'tchatchila even then. For tonight, that would be an option. What?
Generally, we don't. Why?
Lamaisa, that's in Kiddush b'makam Suda. There's more of a reason to be makban on Kiddush b'makam Suda on the Kiddush by night than by day. To have the Kiddush, I spoke about it when we learned in the night call, whole Shen Kiddush b'makam Suda, why taka by night. But Lamaisa, by night is more what to be makban on Kiddush b'makam Suda than by day. And Memela by night, be a soida, you don't. Some Chastoyer is a time. Memela, that would be the eitzah number one, would be is here tonight, you call it could be makel. In the paper that comes out from Chaim Kanevsky, he says l'tchatchila you could do that, l'tchatchila. And it's very negeya. And sometimes, let's say, you're in shul and somebody else is waiting, the wife or whatever it is waiting. They can make kiddush right away by this man, make kiddush and eat a piece of cake, and that's kiddush b'makam suda. We'll soon see other shilas, but it's kiddush b'makam suda. If you don't want to eat the hamoitzi for you or anybody else, you make kiddush, you eat a piece of cake, it's kiddush b'makam suda. Finished. If, let's say, even the cake, it's not negeya, you just want to have a coffee, Lamaisa, pashtas to drink the wine, which works for by day, pashtas by night, one should not rely on that. You should have cake. But what's if you made kiddush and the only thing you need is a coffee? You have a splitting headache, you can't eat anything, somebody else drank the wine, you just need a coffee. You need a coffee. So what should you do? Kiddush b'makam suda, by the way, is negaya for everybody, also the people that listen to kiddush, not just the one who made kiddush. You're listening to somebody else's kiddush, and you heard kiddush, very good. So now what? You need a coffee. You can't eat anything. That every matzah tainus, you need your coffee, the caffeine. Then you'll eat in a half hour. These are makam lahakol. I'll pee what the Chafetz Chaim says. You should ask a Rav to double check. These are makam lahakol. The Chafetz Chaim and Reishai and Gimel Kiddush and Makam Suda brings the halacha that if the hefsek is l'tzorech hasuda, that's not called a hefsek. You could figure out your examples, and this is a very gray area. You wash, you made kiddush, and then mitamo, you're starting to prepare things, and making the salad, and preparing ahimit there. What's called l'tzorech hasuda? 10 l'chachim, figure it out. Al kopanim legave here. These are makam to say that it's l'tzorech hasuda. The only way you could eat the suda is by having a coffee. It's very likely that by you drinking a coffee, you didn't drink any wine, you didn't eat any cake, and you're just drinking coffee and relaxing, settling yourself for whatever amount of time. You're settling yourself to be able to eat the suda. That's possible that that's going to be called kiddush. It'll still be kiddush b'makam suda.
If you have such a situation, you work before you have a milk and coffee, and you have a place of suda, wouldn't you need to say a
we're going to get to that. Very good, beautiful, very good. We're going to move now into the bracha Scheiner, bracha achrayna. I'm trying to break it down into the different parts of the halacha that is negeya. Number one is kiddush b'makam suda. About the kiddush b'makam suda is a sugya gedolah we learned today on the night kollel, but at least try to pull out the pointers that are negeya if you're going to want to wait to wash for whatever reason, and memela how to still be able to work within the line of kiddush b'makam suda. Bracha rishayna. So if you wash right away, so then there's no shaila. You washed, you're eating it in the suda. However, if you don't wash right away, so you're eating a piece of cake, that you make a bracha. You make a bracha. What's about the coffee? Do you make a bracha? If you were the one who made the kiddush, even if you didn't make the kiddush, if you had a revius yayin, let's say at least if you made the kiddush, you don't make a bracha. There's no shaila. You don't make a bracha on the coffee. However, if you show simulay lugmav, it's pater. At least you have to have kavana, but you know for sure, you're having coffee right after kiddush, you don't make a bracha. If you only had a little bit of kiddush, which for most, that's usually the case, you only had a little bit, you were toying from the kiddush, that's till the tchatchila, it's a big shaila. The Bir Allah is very mesopik about it. And the Chafetz Chaim and the Mishabura is soisim lahakol, that even if you only have a little bit, you do not have to make a shahakal. And Rabbi said this is very negeya every single Shabbos. You go to a kiddush and you listen to kiddush, and you had a little bit of wine. It's a shaila if you make a shahakal. A lot of times, and by a kiddush, these like trays of nash of candy, you can make a shahakal, or on herring, you make a shahakal not on a drink, because the wine doesn't patter. If it patters, it only patters a drink, not, let's say, candy. Maybe you make a shahakal. And maybe over here also, I think our Vozen says, it's kedai, if you're going to drink the coffee, maybe have it with a little piece of chocolate or something, make a shahakal, because it's a shaila. But if you weren't toyim b'chlal, if you didn't have any wine, then there's no shaila, you for sure make a shahakal. So maybe it's klar. Bracha rishayna, you're sitting down to cake and coffee. The cake you make a mezainis. Coffee, dependent on if you had wine, a little bit of wine or a lot of wine. Bracha achrayna. What's about bracha achrayna? So, like this. On the bracha achrayna, if you're making a hefsek, which means you made kiddush, you're having cake and coffee, but then you need a break. Yeah, some people, they every matzah tainis, they need some cake and coffee, and then an hour later they eat supper. They can't eat right away. They need some cake and coffee to settle their stomach. So if you do that Friday night, it's a regular case like any kid. You should make a bracha achrayna, make ala michya, make ala gefen, make a bar nefashis, make a bracha achrayna. There's no shaila. However, what happens if you're going to make kiddush? You need a little bit of cake and coffee, a lot, and then from there you go right, you segue right into the Suda. So what's a bracha achrayna? So the emes is, there's a shaila taka about if you drink after kiddush, whatever you did with bracha rishayna, you made a shakalmat, what's with the bracha achrayna? So the halacha is, if the drink is l'tzoyrech hasuda, which means, let's say a person is so thirsty that he pasha needs to drink to be able to can't start eating challah while he's so thirsty, you do not make a brayer nefashis. And the meila, if it's not l'tzoyrech, it's already a shaila. So pashtus, one could assume safely that the coffee is l'tzoyrech, meaning to say is your pasha can't get to the suda without that coffee. But if you're just drinking it, really you could. Otherwise, you would rather have a coffee. And maybe it's a shayla talk about bracha achrayna. Better not to have a revius of coffee, at least before the suda. Because if not, then you go into a shayla. Even if you bench after, it's a shayla. Could be you have to make a bar nefashis. On the cake, the halacha says you don't make it. If you you made kiddush, you ate cake and you go right into the suda, you don't make a ala michya on the cake. Just stick what? Suda's a b'chitka. Yeah, so it depends. I mean, if you go right and you don't go in, but if you make kiddush, you eat mezaynis, you go right into the suda, you don't make a bracha ala michya. Again, on the coffee, it's questionable. I'm just going to conclude with one more nekuda legabe eating the suda, and you want to have cake and coffee, one more nekuda. So we spoke about kiddush b'bakim suda. We spoke about the bracha rishayna. We spoke about the bracha achrayna. One more nekuda is the milchiks and fleishiks. The milchiks and fleishiks. So we mentioned already before that if you're going to make kiddush, make hamoitzi, and then be'etzim, that's the simplest thing. You have coffee, you have cake before. That's simple. There's no bracha shayla, no kiddush makom suda shayla b'chlal. Lamaisa, there's a zoyer that's a lot bring not to have milchiks and fleishiks in the same suda. It's very relevant to what the Shulchan Aruch brings, l'gabe shvuas, the minik to have two breads, because teicha suda, zeichel l'shtei alechem, tahainu you have milchiks, and then you have fleishiks, so that's a shayla, teicha suda, not to have milchiks and fleishiks. So memela for that, you'll have everything before you wash. Though even though some want to say that's also called teicha suda, even though you had it before the washing, that doesn't make it a different suda. But pashtus is, you are marviach the zoyer that it shouldn't be teicha suda. So Lamai says like this: if you just drink a coffee, so then you rinse. You're anyways going to drink before you come to the fleishiks, to the chicken soup. You're going to rinse and it's good. However, if you're going to also have cheesecake, or the emes says that even if not cheesecake, the poskim say that if you eat, because milk, you don't have to get into, it's very simple. You drink, you rinse your mouth, and it's done. When you eat milchiks, we are choishish that a little bit of the milchiks got stuck, and therefore the Shulchan Aruch brings kinuach v'hadacha. Hadacha rinsing is a drink, by coffee also, by milk. But once you eat something, you also have to have kinuach, that means you have to eat something as well. Which be'etzim that also we do, we have challah, kinuach, v'hadacha. And even some want to also say about waiting a half hour, which be'etzim that also we have, because the half hour doesn't mean after you eat the cheesecake, or even, let's say, regular cake with coffee, because maybe it got stuck together with the cake, but you also have a half hour. What's the half hour? Because you don't have to wait a half hour to start the Suda. You had cheesecake. You're going to wash, you're going to have chalas kinuach, hadacha, you're going to drink something. And then by the time, if you start with fish, and by the time you get to the chicken soup, it's anyways a half hour, so you have that as well. So just to wrap up what we spoke today, we spoke about today the different halochos, taking a shower, haircut, cutting the nails. Then we spoke about tonight that a person should be careful to try to make Kiddush and eat the Suda right away, besides the Bein Adam L'Chaver, if other people are waiting, but for yourself also, it's covered Shabbos. And then we also spoke about the halachas, if you don't want to eat the Suda right away, halachas of Kiddush Makom Suda, halachas of Bracha Rishayna, Bracha Achroina, Milchiks and Fleishiks. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and we should be Zoicha, like what the Navi says, that today the Yom HaTaina should turn into a Yom Tov.